From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a major night here on Evenings LALATE as one of the major players in the auto industry could be running out of cash. Carvana reported last Friday that it's laying off 10% of its workforce, but tonight there's news from one analyst that the company could run out of money in less than a year. This is the second industry which I had targeted earlier this year that would fall apart with more interest rate spikes from J. Powell after housing. And we'll be looking at why the third industry will likely give us more clarity tomorrow. It is apparel as more retail companies report news tomorrow. This, my friends, is why you want to get these incredible stimulus checks. And tonight, another success story. Kimberly Romano hitting on massive checks, the latest viewer of many who have walked away with 18 months of checks. In 2021, we talked about Congress talking about monthly or multiple stimulus checks of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. But the membership of this channel tonight is getting even more than that, a lot more. They're not getting 6 months of checks, they're getting 18 months of checks. They're not getting $1,000 a month, they're getting several thousands of dollars a month. And they're not getting $7,200 over 6 months. No, over 18 months, they're walking away with 50, 80, 150, 166,000, 200, even more $1,000 across the board. It can be you. How do you do it? You go under this video, join the channel, and you stay over this 1 hour broadcast. We go over all the incredible sums of money that are available from the federal government. It's federal stimulus, passed by Congress, passed by the President of the United States. It's law, and despite whatever happened in the midterm elections, it will stay law because no one has the ability to revoke it as law. Plus, we'll be looking at the latest details of what we'll see tomorrow with no less than 4 major retailers reporting corporate earnings, then going over the housing market. The breaking news on that, the latest details on the Federal Reserve, the latest details on labor, and then we'll be looking at the latest details of what's going on with the next part of this economy to potentially unravel. I'll give you my guidance, and I'll go over something I learned growing up, and I'll explain to you why it's coming back tonight as well. It's called the tech bubble. We'll go over that bubble and what that bubble is happening tonight. It's not bubblicious. It's bubble concerning, and it heats up tonight. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, all that and more. The breaking news goes underway tonight from America's most watched show for prime time. It's Evenings. And good evening. As we start the countdown to Thanksgiving, big money and big exciting news. Black Friday stimulus checks landing in billions of Americans' hands. Also, Thanksgiving stimulus checks. Also, the big money is available for you. Over this broadcast, we're going to go over your benefit raises, your housing market, your unemployment, and of course, your fourth stimulus. The latest details heat up right now in prime time on Evenings LALATE. How are you? Good evening. Tonight, Kimberly Romano is the latest success story from this channel. She is sitting on months of multiple checks per month because she became a member. She listened over the 1 hour broadcast, stayed over this 1 hour broadcast because I had a lot of checks in the first half and the second half to show you, and she did it again. Night after night, another viewer is walking away with 18 months of checks. That's the common ingredient right now, and multiple checks a month. And that's what Kimberly Romano got, but she got even more than that. What did she get? Kimberly Romano says, I want to share this with all the Purple Hawks. I applied for Check B, and I got approved. I got approved for 18 months of checks. Wow. But she didn't get 18 checks. Oh, no. She got all her utilities every month and her HOA fees. Folks, that's about $2,300 at least, approximately. That's about 5 checks, 5 times 18. You do the math. That's a lot of checks. And 18 months times about $2,000 a month or $2,300 a month, folks, that is a lot of money. That's about $36,000. to start. Why to start? Because she also got her property taxes approved, $4,000. That brings us to $40,000. She's not done there yet. She also got Check A approved, which is $12,000 on the high end. Folks, that's $50,000. She's the latest success story that's happening every night on this channel. Post your success story right now if you're in the live chat. She said, I'm so delighted when I got the email for approval. Thank you for all the wonderful stuff you do. And Margaret Owens also just got approved for more checks. She has gotten a lot of checks on this channel over the last 2 years, but she got another 6 more months of LG&E, and she also, which is a utility bill, and she also got $600 more of other utilities, and she has a meeting next week for water to get more money for that as well. Incredible. And it could be you as well. Over this 1-hour broadcast, we're going to go over all these incredible checks that millions of Americans watching this channel are getting. It's federal stimulus. It's massive sums of money. It's available for you, and I'm going to show you how to get with it. It's coming up in just a second. Stay with me. But first, we start with something I had warned about early this year. As soon as we knew that Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve was going to raise rates, I said 2 things are going to fall apart: housing and auto. Tonight, we see the first calamity of auto. It is Carvana. Carvana made news on this show last Friday when the used car retailer announced it was laying off 10% of its workforce in one day. Ouch. The stock was down 10%. Today got even worse when one of the major analyst banks is reporting that Carvana could run out of cash. Carvana was down 4% in pre-market trading today when the Wall Street Journal quoted analysts saying that the online used retailer could run out of cash within less than a year. Not good. Because remember, if you're going to buy a car, most Americans buy a car with a car loan. The car loan's not affordable anymore because Jay Powell keeps on raising rates. Also over to housing. Housing continues to unravel and every day more bad data. The latest details on data for housing is the following. Existing home sales down. New home starts down. Price of homes down. Inventory starting to build up. And the mortgage affordability getting worse by the day, as Jay Powell is going to raise rates in just a few days from now at the December Federal Reserve meeting called the FOMC meeting in December, making rates potentially even higher. Earlier this year, rates were at 3%. And when Jay Powell started, I said it's going to go to 6%, the mortgage rate. It did, making homes unaffordable. Then I said it's going to go 7%. It did, making them even more unaffordable. And come this spring, when housing usually has a big open house to sell those homes in the beautiful spring, the buyers may not be there because the mortgage rate could potentially go even higher. I'll have more about this later in this recording. But the last third and final nail in the coffin, potentially for this economy, could be retail and apparel. And tomorrow we'll learn whether it is or it isn't. Last week, we really had a confusing week, with half of the companies doing really well and half of the companies doing really poorly. If you just looked at Target and nothing else, you'd say it's big trouble. But not really, because Walmart beat, Macy's beat, and also beating Williams-Sonoma, Gap, and also Foot Locker. But in the same regard, while Macy's beat, Kohl's missed. While Walmart beat, Target missed really badly, folks. Target missed by nearly 50% and said it's in such a bad situation, the situation's continuing right now in Black Friday week, saying the demand destruction has happened, that the consumer's not there with discretionary spending, and saying they're going to have to cut costs by $3 billion in 3 years. Ouch. Who's going to get cut? I'll have more about that in a second. And Kohl's revoking year-end guidance because they said we're suffering very badly. Tonight, we learn a little bit more about that as we count down the hours to tomorrow. On Tuesday, we will have the latest details from the following retailers released. Jump in the live chat right now. I need you to help me with some questions and answers. We're going to have Best Buy, Nordstrom, Dollar Tree, and Dick's Sporting Goods reporting corporate earnings tomorrow. I'm going to ask the question. You tell me up or down, and the retailer, comma your state. Best Buy, do you think it'll beat or do you think it'll miss tomorrow? Jump in the live chat. My analysis, Best Buy will, in my opinion, miss, comma California. Why? I believe it is a discretionary spending company. You're going to go buy an extra TV set? No, you already have enough TV sets. You're going to buy another pair of headphones? No, you already have some. So it's a discretionary spending item you don't have to spend the money on. I think it's going to get hurt. Nordstrom reports tomorrow. Do you think Nordstrom's will beat or do you think it will miss? I believe it's going to beat because it goes hand in hand usually with Macy's. And early this year, when Macy's beat, Nordstrom beat as well. Dollar Tree, this is a little bit harder. Dollar Tree is lower end of the market. What have we had for lower end of the market? Not a lot. We had Ross Department Stores really beat majorly. The stock was up nearly 18% in one day. So if it is the comparable to a Ross, but I don't think it really is, I'll do Dollar Tree beat, California. What do you write in the live chat? Just jump in the live chat right now. Dollar Tree and give me your predictions. And finally, Dick's Sporting Goods. Foot Locker is shoes and apparel, but Dick's Sporting Goods is really the sporting goods, not just the apparel. So I'm going to say Dick's miss, California. Why? Because I don't think the demand for that extra glove, which you bought during the lockdown to go play outside, I don't think you have to keep on buying the equipment anymore. You bought a lot for the lockdown when you're outside. I don't think you have to keep on buying the equipment indefinitely. Ultimately, this is big for tomorrow because we're going to see if this is a mixture of half beat, half misses. If it is, good. If it's more misses, bad. If it's all beats, really good. But more in a second about that. Walt Disney shocked the markets today, but indicative of what's going on with stimulus. Why is Walt Disney indicative of stimulus? Because there's a right way to do a stimulus check and a wrong way to do a stimulus check. The right way is to watch over this broadcast and apply for the checks. The wrong way is put your hand out and say, is it going to land in my hand? Not happening. And that's what happened with Walt Disney and Bob Chapek. Chapek started Monday thinking he had a job as the current CEO of Walt Disney. He did not. Unbeknownst to him, the board went behind his back the following Friday and reached out to the prior CEO, famed and beloved former CEO, Bob Iger, and said the stock is down 40% because of Chapek. Will you come back, Bob Iger, and become our CEO once again? And he said yes. The stock was up 8.8% in pre-market trading after it's tumbled 40% in 1 year. Doing things right in this economy is very critical. Doing things wrong is really going to get hurt. That's the message for stimulus tonight. If you do things wrong, which is basically doing nothing at all, you're not going to get any stimulus. If you do things right, you're going to be the next Kimberly Romano and be sitting on tens of thousands of dollars. So how do you do it right? You watch this video, and over this 1 hour broadcast, I'm going to show you every check. You take notes. If it's too fast and you replay the video, you watch the next video. I'll cover it on that one as well. And we also have the latest details on more corporate earnings coming tomorrow. Ultimately, we really don't know why a Walmart beat and a Target missed, but did we have other indications of anything that helped us today? Well, in food products, beating. Schmuckers, which Folgers, and Milk-Bone are all owned by J.M. Smuckers. The company was beating top and bottom all day today on its latest corporate earnings. The stock was up 3.3 in pre-market trading. Out of China, we're worried about Beijing tonight because there is now the first reported COVID deaths in Beijing since May. And that's hitting badly those Chinese stocks like JD Baidu, and also Alibaba is also being hurt. And then Williams-Sonoma, fascinating because they beat last week and the stock was up, but the negative thoughts on housing, the housing market crash, is causing some analysts like at Barclays to say, get out of Williams-Sonoma stock. The stock was down 2% in pre-market trading. They switched it to equal weight from overweight because they say if the housing market really does collapse, people are not going to be spending a lot of money on homewares. Fascinating. And this is why you have to get these stimulus checks. Tonight we have massive stimulus for you. 3 categories, and those categories are, number 1, federal stimulus checks, FSCs, from the federal government, from Congress, from the White House. Became law in March, and viewers have gotten since March. If you just found this channel, welcome. You're not too late. The stimulus is still available. Moreover, if you got it before, you can get more. I'm going to show you how to get that. It's 300 different checks, $300,000 of checks. It's from the federal government. They administer the application. They pay the check. They put the stamp on the envelope. Your state, your county, your city has nothing to do with it. They don't send out the money, so don't ask, is it in my state? Your state has nothing to do with federal stimulus. It's not state stimulus. Next up is a lifetime stimulus, because once your benefits go up, they never go down. But as one veteran said, every broadcaster should be recording what you're doing, and he's right. No one's telling you that you're going to get 4 raises on top of each other, not one. And I'll explain the latest details on that lifetime stimulus. It's for you, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans viewers tonight. Then we go to inflation relief stimulus because there's money also from your state, and I'm going to show you what that extra money is. It's coming up in just a second. But let's go back into the surprises we saw with Carvana, which was really that the auto industry is just at the early edges of potentially a market crash. I'm predicting the housing, and I had predicted the housing and the auto would collapse, but housing has not fully collapsed yet, and auto has not even seen a wrinkle in its shirt. But the auto, with the latest details from Carvana tonight, is the first start of it. Late in this broadcast, you're going to see something brand new on the show tonight. It's my analysis based upon personal experiences. I'm going to look at why auto and housing will fall apart based upon wrinkles that I've seen before. What is the basis? The tech bubble crash of the 1990s. I'll look back on what we saw then and why it has an indication of what we're going to do tonight. Fascinating across the board. Meantime, companies like Coinbase are really in big trouble. The stock went a $200 and $300 stock. Tonight it's at $40 because the cryptocurrency industry is collapsing really bad, and that's coming up in just a second. But let's get some stimulus. Let's get some stimulus. 3 categories of checks, and we'll start first with those federal stimulus checks from the President of the United States and from the Congress. What are they? Let me show you what they are. Let's pull up the graphic right now. They started with those ones done by Joe Biden by executive action, $100,000 of checks. Passed by Joe Biden by executive action in the month of March. You qualify. Go get them. These executive action checks are A, B, and C. And I'm going to show you how to get these incredible checks for you. You qualify if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. If you make $75,000 or less a year, if you make $150,000 less a year, become a member and get these incredible checks. Then came Congress, and Congress passed more checks and a bill that established checks E through K, bringing us to then hundreds of checks. And I found you more checks, L&M and M&O, P and Q. I'm going to go over each of these incredible checks with you in this recording. They're all in the LALATE newsletter. Delivered from me to you, that LALATE newsletter is Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern, via the YouTube alerts, 9 o'clock Central. All you have to do is go under this video, become a member, then get that newsletter, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Go right into where it says, click the link, and you go in and apply for each of these incredible checks. Because you deserve these sums of money. And that is why the Purple Hawks have been cleaning up with massive amounts of checks. And you're going to meet some more of these success stories that look like Kimberly Romano of the Purple Power in this recording. Go under this video and get ready to pounce and get some checks. But let's go back to the other stories we're looking at tonight. They are housing. Housing just continues to report bad numbers. It started back in the month of May with the National Association of Home Builders saying it's very bad. Existing home sales down. New home starts down. Builder confidence down. And the numbers continue to unravel with the price of homes pulling back and the discounting of homes nearly growing from 25% a month ago to 36% of those homes having to cut the prices. Inventory levels are relatively low. That's good, but here's the confusion. It's going to stay low because if you own a home, you're not going to sell the home even though you can make a profit because you can't afford the mortgage on a brand new home. Remember, if you move out of this home and move to that home, you got to get a new mortgage and you can't afford the new mortgage. So most sellers are not selling because they can't afford the new mortgage. But the apparel is really where we're worried across the board tonight. If that apparel really falls apart, if that consumer demand is not there, that's the industry that's going to headline the news more than anything else. And in tonight's recording, I'm going to rely upon you as the brand new reporters of LALATE. Yes, tonight you're going to be hired as brand new reporters on LALATE, figuratively, and I'll go over the latest details on that in the big second half. But let's get some checks right now. Let's start with those checks A, B, and C right now, and let's look and see how they work and what's at issue. Check A is a wonderful $6,500 to $12,000 for stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, 75,000 or less, go get it. Married couple, 150,000 or less, go get it. And how do you get it? You go under this video, become a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Then go down the newsletter till you see the incredible check A. Click the link and go right and apply. You're not done there yet. You're going to go get check B. Now, before we go to check B, Spelly got check A, and you just met Kimberly Romano, who got check A. That's the Weatherizing grant. Well, let's now look at check B. Kimberly also got check B, and this is a lot of checks. She got 18 months of about 5 checks a month. Who also got the same payout or number of checks? Frank Mancuso. Here we go. He got check B, 18 months, mortgage, 18 months of utilities, 18 months of high-speed internet. There you go. Frank Mancuso joined this channel, and in less than 30 days for just paying a few dollars to become a member, just a few dollars to become a member, he got tens of thousands of dollars. Kimberly Romano got over $50,000. And another viewer out of Florida, for just a few dollars to become a member, what did she get? She got 18 months times 5 checks a month, 80 plus checks, and nearly $100,000. Go into this video, join the channel, and when you join the channel and you get that newsletter, go down to check B, click the link, and go right and apply, because that's the check that viewers, one after another, are getting 18 months of them. You're not done there yet. Go get check C. For rent, utilities, mortgage, assistance, and more in the membership newsletter, I tell you who to call, what to say, and how to say it. And the success story for those check C's are just huge. Let's look at the success stories. Over the last year and a half, I've gotten viewers of this channel nearly $50 million of checks. And let's look at some of their success stories right now. Do you want $30,000 of rent? Then go get some check C's by becoming a member right this moment. Join the channel. And then how about some utilities? There is utility success stories. And Lynn Glenn last night in the live chat confirmed she got 14 months of utilities from this channel, and she got 5 months of rent. Here's Mark at $6,500 of utilities. His brother-in-law, $15,000. That same brother-in-law is getting $250,000 over 10 years of SNAP. And combinations of checks, well, here we go. Nisi went from $23,000 to $50,000. Mark here went from $32,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 to $166,000 by becoming a member of combinations of checks. And there is Lorraine. She was at 105. She went to 155. What are you watching here? What is this channel? You're watching LALATE, America's #1 most watched show for financial news in prime time. #1 for this subject matter, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And #3 overall for all financial news. LALATE started with 1 channel in spring of 2020 and is now 3 channels. Live, taped, long format, short format, and a lot of programming for you across the board. On LALATE 1, you got it all, with LALATE Live airing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Then on LALATE 2, you have Stimulus Live airing 24/7, and also humor programming with Sir Lloyd and Javita Late back every night at 7 o'clock. On LALATE 3, you have the great new Wall Street Live airing every morning at 8 a.m. and cooking shows coming as well. And one of the brand new shows that launched on this channel no less than 2 days ago has been a blockbuster on LALATE 1, has been our Q&A show, question and answer. So if you have any questions about what you're watching tonight, just jump on that show that usually is about 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's a lot of fun. It is just me answering your questions on air live at about 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go into this video, become a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP, join the channel, and hit that little bell so you have all notifications set to all on. Make sure you subscribe to all 3 channels because you don't want to miss any of this news across the board. In the second half, we're going to continue with these checks, these FSC checks, and we have a lot more of them to go over $300,000. Then we go to ISC checks and then to lifetime stimulus checks. Tonight, we salute some of the success stories. Margaret continues to get checks. We have Dragon at $170,000. We have Lorraine at $150,000. We have Johnny at $250,000 for his friends and neighbors and $80,000 for himself. We have Mark at $160,000. It's happening all the time. Viewers are pouncing left and right. All you have to do is use the finger. Go under the video, join the channel, and become a member. And I'm going to show you more about these incredible FSC checks, because that's just the first 3 checks. I got a lot more for you coming up in just a second. Homebuilder sentiment dropped to a decade low in the latest report from the National Association of Home Builders. The drop in November was the 11th consecutive month of declines and the worst drop since 2012. Higher interest rates is the cause, says the National Association of Home Builders Chairman Jerry Conter, who is also a home builder himself. 37% of home builders had to cut prices in November. That's up from September, when only 26% of them had a cut. This is on the news of Target really having big problems when its profits fell 50% in the third quarter, and them also reporting that the same problem is still underway. In fact, it was a precipitous decline, and frankly, we're still seeing those trends now in this month of November as well, said the holiday Target chief growth officer Christina Hennington. That's a long title, isn't it? Very long title. Walmart says that there's a pullback on spending, but it was able to keep its lower prices, bringing the consumers in. So tonight, a new task for you, and it's very exciting. If you are going holiday shopping or at least holiday browsing in the malls, then I want you to be my reporter. Yes, this is what we're going to be doing. Purple Power, let's reunite. What we're going to be doing is you're going to be eyes and ears, just like we always talked about what's going on with the milk and eggs in the supermarket. Now we're going to talk about what's going on in the malls this week. So if you're going to the malls this week, or the outlet, or anything like that, where you see several stores, write in the live chat where you're going to go and send me a private message on Facebook. Then when you do go, send me a message on Facebook on private message of what you saw. I went to this Mall of the West in whatever city, and I saw a lot of people in the houseware stores, but no one in the apparel store. I saw a lot of people in the children's stores, but no one in the outdoor stores. Very fascinating. It's that type of data that I want to lead with. We don't need to rely on local news with one reporter in one mall. We got the Purple Power Network. We got all these wonderful millions of viewers across the country in so many different states, eyes and ears. So if you are in the mall browsing, keep your eyes and ears open to see which stores are crowded, which stores are not crowded, why they're crowded, and what people are doing, what they're buying, based upon the historics of what you remember for that mall pre-COVID. And I'll be featuring your details as a reporter later on this channel this week as Black Friday continues. In the big second half, we continue over these FSC checks, federal stimulus checks. Then we go to inflation relief stimulus checks, then the lifetime stimulus checks. Then we go back into the breaking news, and you'll hear something new about me you've never heard before and why it gives me guidance on where this economy is and where it's going. It's important for you to know, and it all looks back to the tech bubble of the 90s. We'll be back over this in just a second. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as this and more breaking news continues from the shores of Santa Monica, California. This and more coming back in 60 seconds with all the details you need to know and everything that's at issue tonight. See you back as Evenings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. They're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now in the big second half from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Hope you're having a beautiful afternoon and evening. Purple Power is cleaning up because there's massive checks. And as a member, you are learning and earning. You're doing a great job. Keep on pouncing. Keep on motivating people and keep on getting checks. Whatever check you got tonight, get another check tomorrow. Learn to earn and stay the big second half, which we're in right now, as we go over more about these federal stimulus checks starting right now. Now we turn to the E through K checks passed by Congress. You ready? I am. I'm excited. Check E, a $7,500 stimulus check. Check F, a $4,000 stimulus check. Wow. Then we go to check G, 30% off. Check H, a $2,000 stimulus check. Huge. Then next up, check I, $8,000 stimulus check. Check J, a wonderful $8,000 stimulus check. And then check K, $14,000 stimulus check. Just wonderful. How do you get these E through K checks? All in the membership newsletter at E through K. It continues thereafter at check L, $100,000, an average of loan interest-free money. M, $4,000 stimulus check. Then we go to N, the great check. It is a brand new tablet, computer, a laptop, and free internet. This is the tablet that John Maloof got. Inspiring spelling to get it. Inspiring Lynn Glenn, and should be inspiring you right now. Go into the membership newsletter, check N, and go get it. Also free internet. Stimulus O, 0 down payment, 0 closing costs, and no insurance. And then Stimulus B, 3% down and an $8,000 stimulus check to go with it. Those are your federal stimulus checks. Let's learn a little bit more about them. First, the fastest routing time is 2 days. Johnny started on Monday. By Wednesday, he had $45,000. Then by Friday, he had $80,000 by getting 15 applications in, half rejected, half approved. Then the next 2 days, he helped mom and dad each get $50,000 and his friends and neighbors $250,000. Checks, what are they for? The rent, the utilities, the mortgage assistance, the appliances, the home improvement, the car, the computer, the tablet, and the internet. And these are all from the federal government. From the federal government, Congress, the White House, has nothing to do with what state you live in. So don't ask, what about my state? Because it's all from Congress. It's federal law, so it's in every U.S. state and U.S. territory. It's federal stimulus, and it's massive sums of money. Next, we turn to inflation relief stimulus checks. Inflation relief stimulus checks are from your state, and they're great. Where you find them in the membership newsletter down at check D, like donut. You click the button and open that brand new page. It tells you your state, then the amount of the check, and also how to track it. Individual websites from each state are in that check D lineup, and I like check D, but it's an icing on the cake. It's not the cake. It's about $1,000 stimulus check, but we're not done there yet. Well, next up after that is a lifetime stimulus, because once your benefits go up, they never go down. One veteran was on our brand new LALATE question and answer show the other night, and he said, "Thank you, LALATE, for what you do and explaining this." What did I explain? What I explained was something that all Americans should be hearing on local news. But apparently local news doesn't care, because this is a very critical issue that everyone needs to know. It's for you to know. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits, what is it? Two things. One, you're getting 4 cumulative raises, and that's not being explained. As the veteran asked, is one raise replacing another? No, it's not. Let's go over the details. Imagine you're in a skyscraper 2 years ago on the first floor. Well, last year you got a 5.9% raise, bringing you to the second floor. This next year, you're getting an 8.7% raise, bringing you to the third floor. Yes, it's raise on top of raise. It's cumulative. And Jay Powell says there's going to be 2 more years of inflation thereafter. That means you're going to go to the fourth and then the fifth floor. Wow. That's incredible. No one's explaining that to people. Many people think you're getting replacement raises. No, it's cumulative. Even better than that. When you reach that fourth floor, what happens to the price of goods you're buying? They'll be the cheapest of a generation. Because Jay Powell's getting those inflation elements gone by year 4. By 2024, you won't see inflation anymore. And suddenly it costs the cheapest to live of a generation, and you'll have the largest check of a generation. And that, my friends, is your lifetime stimulus. Wow, just incredible, great news. Which brings us then into what else is happening right tonight. First, let's turn to Jay Powell and Company. Jay Powell and Company are critical, with critical twists at hand. You know, it was back around October when Jay Powell was going into that October meeting of the Federal Reserve that some Wall Street crazies were trying to tell you that the Federal Reserve could stop doing what they were going to do. And Jay Powell sat back until he couldn't anymore, and he did what I would have done, which is shoot them down. Jay Powell made it very clear. This is what we're doing at the Federal Reserve, says Jay Powell. We are raising rates every month until we get inflation down to 2% for several months. Inflation tonight is about 8%, and it needs to get to 2%. So we have a long way away. In fact, Jay Powell said how a long way away, 2024. Where are our inflationary data points tonight? Tonight, we're counting down the days to December 1, when the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, PCE, is released, and it'll be the next to last inflationary report before the Federal Reserve meets. It's a number they're all going to be looking at, but the last inflationary report was just a week ago, and everything was up, with the exception of used auto, I should say, apparel, and medical. Everything else is up. The headline number, up. The monthly number, up. The year-to-date number, up. And all the other component numbers, up. Some of them historically up a lot. That's what I want you to focus on, the data, the CPI report. Then, the pre-CE on December 1. I want you to watch that show or the countdown of that show all that day and all that week, because that number is going to determine your future. Why? Because this is going to tell us how long they spike those interest rates. I personally do not believe that the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index on December 1 will be that much different. I think it's just going to be about the same, maybe a little bit of easing up in particular subparts, but it's basically a show inflation month to month up, in my opinion, and it's also going to show inflation up year to date, and then most of the component parts will also be up year to date. Now, I did buy soda last night. And it was only one brand. I'm not going to say the brand, but it's one of the major two. And they did have 5 sodas for $1.69. Blasphemy. 5 sodas for $1.69. So suddenly inflation came down for me. I just want to rub it in. I got my soda inflation uninflated. It was very nice to see soda with a 1 in front of it instead of a 3, after 2 months of this insanity. But it was a special promotion at one market. So I don't think that's the price point of inflation. Needless to say, the soda right next to it was $3.69. So until you see all the soda on the shelf, that should be your soda benchmark. Soda is a very good benchmark of inflation. What you and I see is a very good benchmark of what's going on. And that is why you're so important this week. If you're in the mall, I don't need you to be shopping. I just need you to be looking and listening. I want you to see if the smalls are crowded. What's crowded? Is the Gap crowded? Is the Gap empty? Is Dick's Sporting Goods crowded or empty? Is Williams-Sonoma line out the door or no one in there at all? I want to know, and I want to know where you live also, because I think this will give us big guidance on what's going on with this economy going into the next few days. We already know travel and leisure is going to be through the roof. We already know the airports are going to be absolutely jam-packed, and the lines and the traffic, it's going to be horrible because travel and leisure is through the roof. We already know that no one's going to be buying a home. No one's going to be buying a home this week. No one's going to be buying a car this week. But what's going to happen over to retail? Which brings me to my final part of tonight's broadcast, which is going on historics and also going on gut. People always wonder, how was I, the guy with the purple shirts, able to really look at this economy and get so many projections correct in the last year? I was the only American broadcaster to report the U.S. economy was going to have 8% inflation in December of last year, and it was not going to go away. As Jay Powell said, it was going to be temporary. I said, no, it's not. It's not going to go away. I got it right. I was the only American broadcaster to report that we were going to have a recession in spring of this year. I had week after week correct predictions on unemployment rates, and I had week after week projections correctly on debt levels. More importantly, my guidance on what to do has paired off correctly as well. I told Americans not to buy stocks, to get rid of debt and get into cash and increase as much stimulus as you can. But tonight you may wonder why. And I'm going to give you some insight about me tonight for the first time ever. It comes a little bit from historics. A lot of you are older than me, but the more you experience things, the more you understand where something doesn't smell right. I'm going to go back to an example. And that example was an event called Digital, let's see if I say it right, Digital Coast Los Angeles in the 1990s. Digital Coast Los Angeles in the 1990s was a conference about streaming media. And at the time, I was the first person to put streaming television on the internet. I invented it. I was the first to put television on the internet before YouTube ever existed, many, many years before. And I walked up to one of the reporters at the conference and I said, why do you keep on reporting about companies going bankrupt? Why not report on what I'm doing? I actually said that. Needless to say, another company went bankrupt and he reported on them as well. During the conference, I was sitting in a conference hall at the Directors Guild here in Los Angeles, and I was sitting in a row watching Shaq O'Neal on stage, who was then with the Lakers. I went up to him during one of the breaks, and boy, he is really tall. And I congratulated him on a great season. And while Shaq was on stage, Mark Cuban was behind me. Mark Cuban at that time, of course, this is far before there was Shark Tank, far before the Mavericks. No one knew who Mark Cuban was unless you were in this industry, which I was in, which was technology. And Mark Cuban actually said he did not have anyone to drive him back to his home that night because he didn't have a car. That was Mark Cuban then. And needless to say, I made a mistake not giving him a ride. But what we were listening to that night was about the future of the industry. Now, what's important is not what was said on that stage, but what was important was what happened that night. And let me tell you what happened that night. You, based upon whatever you've had in your life, I want you to give me your insight on what you're going to say. I want you to give me your insight on what you would have reacted to. I reacted to it accordingly, and I got to tell you, I was right. Later that night, they had a party, and the party was at the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. If you remember the House of Blues, it doesn't exist anymore. It was a very big chain with memorabilia for rock and roll on the walls. House of Blues was a beautiful place in the Sunset Strip. Doesn't exist anymore. The party at the House of Blues had a massive layout of food like you've never seen, and I was shocked when I walked into the party, which only pulled in about 200 people that night. The layout of food was so enormous, I immediately started running the numbers in my mind. Not today's contemporary numbers, but at those days. I calculated about $300,000 spent on this layout of food that night for about 200 people, which caused you to think, well, wait a second, if you're budgeting a party like this, what are you doing to budget your business? And ultimately, my smell test worked, because what happened? The company went bankrupt the next day, announced bankruptcy. And that's what happened in the tech bubble. When things don't smell right, something's wrong. And ultimately, if things don't smell right for you, you got to presume they're wrong, or at least question whether they're not accurate at all. And that's what we learned over the last year. We had a crypto recorder on YouTube that always bragged about his brand new Lamborghini, but why would you buy a Lamborghini with debt and brag about the debt of $300,000 on that Lamborghini if J-Powell's raising rates, and those rates are variable debt on the Lambo? It doesn't make sense. We had a YouTuber talking about all the real estate he's buying here in California. Have to hope it's 3% fixed mortgage rate at the time and not variable, because that mortgage rate is now unaffordable. You had people telling you that Dogecoin was going to $1. It never did. People telling you that you're going to retire rich on Dogecoin. You never did. Or Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu is all new. Well, now it's very old and never went anywhere. Ultimately, when things don't smell right, it may not be right. And that ultimately, that's what you learn with time. It's called the tech bubble then. It's called the smell test today. And people always wonder, how was I able to smell right that something didn't smell correctly when Jay Powell said that inflation was going to be temporary, transitory at 8% last year in December? It didn't smell right to me. I said it didn't smell. And I said it's not going to be 8% for 1 year. Why for 1 month? Why would it be just for 1 month? Temporary, transitory. He was wrong. And 8% inflation is still with this U.S. economy. Then, when we looked at the situation with the massive spending on travel and leisure, you and I asked ourselves, wait a second. Where are people getting these thousands of dollars for these holiday trips right now if they're living 60% of them paycheck to paycheck? Well, the credit card companies told us it was massive debt that they're putting on the credit cards. Ultimately, if you go by your gut and you sense there's something wrong, then ultimately your senses may be right. Lead yourself by senses, because ultimately it's the best indicator across the board. As we go into a confusing couple of months, we're going to need a lot of this. We're going to have the stock market potentially rally up. In a bear market, we're still going to have a Santa Claus rally, maybe. And we're also going to potentially have a bull run in a bear market for this holiday season. We have people still tell you to buy cryptocurrency, even as Coinbase has lost much of its valuation tonight as a company, down from $200, $300 a stock to $40. We have a lot of people telling you the virtues of real estate, but worries that new home starts are down, existing home starts are down. And the one industry, I got to tell you, does not smell well at all to me tonight is auto. In an environment in which people buy your product on debt, auto, what are auto manufacturers doing? Raising the price of their cars like never before. As the demand is sinking, what are the auto manufacturers doing? Pulling back the prices, bringing incentives to get people in the stores? No, no, no. They're trying to push those record through the roof prices from last year. And what are they going to get? Lots of inventory, unsold. As you start 2022, it'll be 2023, it'll be the 22 model still on the floor and not being sold. They're not getting the messaging. And when you don't get the message, it's not good. It's the same thing for stimulus. Millions of Americans who want that stimulus are here getting that stimulus, pouncing and getting the money. But people who need the stimulus and are not making the effort for themselves, doesn't smell good for them at all. That's not you. You're part of this Purple Parrot community. Go on this video, become a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Parrot Casino VIP, and stay with me throughout the night and join me in the live shows across the board. Become a member. Do things that make sense for yourself. Do things that make sense for you and your family, and you'll all end ahead of the ball game. Look beautiful and do it right from the shores of San Marcos, California. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LALATE for more.